We're headed to Christmas. Who in here has Christmas plans already? Nobody? Really? Most of us do, don't we? We have some place we're planning to go or something we're planning to do or someone we're planning to spend Christmas with at least. We already have those plans built in, right? How many of us went to Thanksgiving? Did anybody go to 2 Thanksgivings? Because sometimes you get 2 Christmases, but I got a couple 2 Thanksgivings. So, they're excited. They're fuller than most people are, so that's good. It's amazing how busy we get. Who in here had a hard time fitting in Thanksgiving with everything else going on in their life? I mean, if you're honest, a lot of us probably should be raising our hands, shouldn't we? I don't know about you guys, but there is something that is super hard for me to do. I don't rest well. I don't know where you drop on that statement, but I don't rest well. I don't stop. I don't relax. There's always something churning in my head. And the problem is, it's a problem. The Washington Post had an article submitted by Elizabeth Brunig. She's an opinion columnist for them, so take it for what it's worth, on April 25th of 2018. In 2016, more than half of workers left vacation days unused, either unable to afford time off or unwilling to risk disappointing their employers. There's a balance to be struck when it comes to work and rest, but in the United States, values and laws are already slanted drastically in favor of work. I would advise that those concerned about Americans should focus more of our political energies on making sure that American workers have the dignity of rest, the freedom to enjoy their lives outside of labor, and independence from the whims of their employers. The truth of the matter is, when we have a lack of rest, when we can't just find that time to downtime, when we can barely find that time to sleep, rest affects us in so many ways. But one of the most telling of our day is seen in this statement from Sleep Foundation. Anxiety is frequently connected to sleeping problems. Excess worry and fear make it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep through the night. Sleep deprivation can worsen anxiety, spurring a negative cycle involving insomnia and anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health problem in the United States, and insufficient sleep is known to have sweeping negative implications for overall health. As a result, understanding and addressing the links between anxiety and sleep can be fundamental to physical and emotional wellness. I don't know where you guys drop with that one either. But I will tell you this, and the people I know with anxiety, when they sleep, they're better. Not all better, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when they get on a regular sleep cycle, it seems like some things start to turn for them. Rest helps. Because we are a people that are overwhelmed with busyness, are we not? We are a people that are overwhelmed with multitasking. We drive ourselves through obligation or recreation to engage in every activity available to us until we are so nervous in the maelstrom of have-to-dos that we let slide the things that keep us healthy. Just letting it sink in. I like Thanksgiving. But I remember my mom when I was little, there were occasions where she would still be up at 10 or 11 o'clock at night trying to get something ready because my grandparents were coming the next day, and she wanted to make sure everything was ready so that it could be fixed if it needed to be fixed, of course. Fixed, okay? And so she would stay up till late at night, and she would get up early in the morning to put the turkey in so everything would be cooked and ready to go when the in-laws got there. And so eventually my mom kind of got, I love my mom, a little snippy on Thanksgiving. She stayed up late to get the food ready. She got up early to make sure the food was ready. She dealt with 25 people in her house on Thanksgiving, almost every single Thanksgiving. She had kids, and we weren't exactly what you would call manners central at our house. Okay? I'm just telling you, hey, could you pass me a roll? That may come from across the room, and you may see a full forward pass at the Thanksgiving table from one roll going to somebody at the other end of the room. To which my mother would just go, oh. The fact that it was my dad throwing them at my brother and I, that was one of the things that didn't really help that situation that much. My mom always makes like 3 or 4 loaves of pumpkin bread. You know why? Because invariably, none of them are going to be left for Thanksgiving Day. We go through and wipe them out. She hides them from us. She gets so wound up by the time Thanksgiving Day is over, you can just see it on her face that she goes, she's done. And looking back from this vantage point to that vantage point, I can tell you right now, I don't blame her. She did not get the rest she needed to keep her healthy. And the problem is, even at rest right now, we find ourselves bombarded with information and a level of what I call stationary busyness. Does anybody know what I'm saying when I say that? Stationary busyness. It is unknown in human history to where it's at today. Stationary business. Are you ready for what stationary business is? You're laying in your chair doing nothing and you go, the amazing thing is, do you know how many apps you could open up on your phone at one time and be thinking about? You can do a million different things sitting in your chair, and you don't even have to move. But you know what it is? Busyness. That's all it is. It's nothing other than busyness. So when we say we're resting at our house, what it really means is we've got the TV off, and all 3 of us are looking at our phones, and the boys playing Switch. Confession time. Because we have mastered stationary business where it seems like we are spending time together as a family and we're being quiet together as a family. All that means is we are all entertaining ourselves with our own thing and not communicating with each other. We're just busy. Not because we have to do, but because we make ourselves busy in a stationary way. You see, King David didn't have to deal with an iPhone. He was still under a life that held unique and difficult stressors. And in Psalm 62, it seems to be a self-reminder that even when the world attacks, we can find rest in God. Psalm 62, 1-8 reads like, "Truly, my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. So how long will you assault me? Would all of you throw me down this leaning wall, this tottering fence? Surely they intend to topple me from my lofty place. They take delight in lies. With their mouths they bless, but with their hearts they curse. Yes, my soul, find rest in God. My hope comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken. My salvation and my honor depend on God. He is my mighty rock, my refuge. Trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge." Our souls need rest, but it needs rest in God. Rest in God is something that we tend to overlook a lot. We like to talk about praying, we like to talk about Bible reading, we like to talk about fellowship, we like to talk about a lot of things that we make sound really Christian-y and churchy, okay? But the one we never talk about is rest. Do you know why? Because you would have to stop church programs. Because have you ever been to a church where they went, okay, it's okay, just come on in. We've got sofas and everything, just take a rest. That's what we're doing today for our spiritual discipline. We're resting in solitude. You know they don't do that because none of the ladies or guys can walk in here and do solitude for one thing. Somebody's got to show somebody a picture from their iPhone about something. Or they got to tell them about what they made the other day or who got pulled over by what or who hit a deer or whatever. You got a story that's always got to be told to everybody that walks in the building. Could you imagine what it would be like if you had a small group and your small group's whole job was to go sit and take rest and solitude upstairs? We have comfy sofas on both ends. But I guarantee you it wouldn't happen because there would be 2 people that would have to be in solitude together. It's not something that we talk about often. But when we rest, it means we have hit a stopped or a relaxed state. You can't do that while you're driving to work. You can't do it in the bathroom. You can't do it while you're eating. Now, the reason I commented all those three things is that's when people tell me they pray. Well, I pray in my car on the way to work. Great. Do you rest in God ever? Well, that's when I rest in God. No, you're driving. Your attention is not on God. Your attention's on the road. Well, in the morning before everything starts, I try to take a little time with God in the bathroom. And I'm like, you don't have to tell me what you're doing, but really, if you're doing anything other than reading the Bible or praying on your knees, you're doing something. Not going to say what, just saying you might be. When we rest in God, we are to give him our full attention. When is legitimately the last time you stopped and gave God your full attention? I can't tell you. Because even though I try really hard, oftentimes my mind wanders to other places and it doesn't rest. I have a busy mind. Does anybody else have a busy mind? Because you know what? Busy minds, they're not bad, but you got to learn to put them in a place where you can rest in God with that busy mind. Because if we really want to love someone wildly, we have to give them our undivided attention at some juncture. There is nothing that feels like a greater blessing to me and to most people than when you are at the total focus of a person's heart. I don't know how to explain that, but there is nothing better, nothing that feels more like a gift than when you are totally focused on somebody else's heart, their wants, their desires, their needs, what they're trying to do, what they're not trying to do. You take time to rest in them at that point. When they have stopped time in their lives to be with you 100%, that is loving somebody wildly. When we allow ourselves that time to rest in the Lord, we will find ourselves fortified in the most blessed ways we can imagine. I guarantee it. Jesus offers rest through him. In Matthew 11:28-30, he says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus not only offers us, but he kind of gives an imperative command there. Come to me. That's a you. Come to me. He offers a command to come and rest. So why are we always so busy? He shows great interaction between rest and work that we would do well to start to understand. When we find ourselves doing the work of the Lord, we are tied together with Jesus. We are yoked with him. Okay? We begin to see what is important and other things that will find a place in our lives. Now, I want to make sure you guys understand this. A yoke was something where you had a pair of oxen and you dropped a yoke over them. Okay? So they would pull together. The same direction. The same way. Do the right thing together. Go the right direction. Be led together. And there was usually a stronger one and a weaker one, and that stronger one was usually the one that would pull the bulk of the cart and teach the other one how to lead. It was important to understand that when Jesus says to be yoked with him, he wants us to walk side by side with him. He's not trying to offer us more work to do. He's saying, come, and I will help you. You will see what I'm doing, and you will desire to do the same thing, and it will become a place where you can rest. Because when we are yoked with him, our focus will be on the one that we love, not the things that sidetrack us from love. When we are yoked with him, there is no room for doing other things. It is just you giving your full attention to what he is doing and where he is leading. Resting in the sure foundation of his love. When we rest in him, we find that he is a firm foundation. A fortress to hold the world at bay no matter how much it wants to attack us or sidetrack us from the peace that he promises us. If we're going to rest, we have to have a firm foundation, okay? When we painted billboards, there was something you learned is you didn't rest on the billboard because the billboard, the platform you're standing on goes this way. Okay, because there's wheels on the board, and so your toes and your heels are always kind of doing this, but it also goes this way. And so if you stop to rest, it's going to tip one way too far and you're going to be in trouble. So the whole time you're up there, you're kind of balancing with your feet back and forth, left and right. You keep your knees kind of loose. It looks like you're doing some kind of dance up on the billboard, okay? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, you're doing some kind of dance up on the billboard. But when you get and you really start to rest, here's when I rest. I rest when I'm sitting on a dock that I know the pylons are driven 12 feet into the ground that my Uncle Don built. I'm resting because I've just taken a chair out to the end of the dock so I can be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. So when I look out on the lake, there is nothing but glass looking back at me. The foundation doesn't shake. The dock doesn't go back and forth. My ability to rest there is incredible because I don't have to worry about what's under me. All I have to worry about is the peaceful beauty before me. We have got to have a firm foundation. And that's what the psalmist is saying. Psalm 62, 1-2 says, "Truly, my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken." I love that the psalmist uses rock and fortress. Those are just, in your mind, don't those make just a hard place? Something strong. Something firm. We're to find rest in him in these strong places. He starts with this beautiful verse about the inherent strength of God's rest. God is a rock. He is what brings salvation from torment. Find your rest, and you will never be shaken. Except the world is waiting just outside. In Psalm 62, 3-4, it says, "How long will you assault me? Would all of you throw me down this leaning wall, this towering fence? Surely they intend to topple me from my lofty place. They take delight in lies. With their mouths they bless, but in their hearts they curse." I've been to CIY a few times, Christ in Youth. It's a great, great time in summer. I've taken a lot of kids, and we've had some groups that have really just bonded and blended at CIY, and it was awesome, and we went home, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's the greatest thing ever, CIY, we love it, ah, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus." And while we're at CIY, we are up here. My arm doesn't go high enough. While we're at CIY, we are up here. We are standing on the mountain that is firm, that is Jesus Christ. All the world is gone. All we can see is Jesus, and we are all about him. And it's not just the kids. The adults, you see the kids coming together like this, and the sponsors and the pastor and everything, they get together like, "It's going awesome, isn't it? It's going awesome." And not only do the kids get excited, the adults get excited watching the kids, and they have their own experiences, and they get excited. And the whole thing is just like one of these up here experiences. It's a very lofty height. That time of rest that we have away from the world, that we are just focused on Jesus Christ, is a mountaintop. But when we come back to things of this world, and as our focus shifts from the mountain of God at CIY to the world of the everyday, it felt like somebody was trying to topple us from a lofty place. The kids that had spent an entire week together suddenly can't spend 10 minutes together in a room without going, the things that they were able to just cast off and not worry about for a week while they were at CIY suddenly are bludgeoning them, trying to get back into their lives and telling them they need to do this and they need to do that. Football, basketball, cheerleading, all that stuff comes in. Their friends suddenly start, "Hey, I was invited to a party. I didn't go, but I really wanted to." I know. And the next week they go, "Hey, invited to the same party." But there's not really an explanation afterwards. Surely they intend to topple me from my lofty place. See, we tell ourselves that we just have to do this stuff in the world. And that's what the world tells us over and over. Surely they intend to topple me from my lofty place. They take delight in lies. And people will tell us that we do a great job. People will tell us that we're doing this or that we need to be there for this particular event. People will tell us that we've got to go to church because there's 100 different things going on that need our attention. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm saying this: be careful. Because it can knock you off a lofty place too. We would have done well to teach them better the end of Psalm 62. And I encourage you this week to listen to the words of the psalmist and make God our refuge of rest. In Psalm 62, 5-8, it says, "Yes, my soul, find rest in God. My hope comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken. My salvation and my honor depend on God. He is my mighty rock, my refuge." Trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts to him, for God is our refuge. I don't know what that means to you. Refuge. But I've read a few books, and some of them are fantasy. That's going to shock you guys, I know. But in the Lord of the Rings books, there's a country called Rohan, and when they are in trouble, they run to a refuge called Hell's Deep. I want my refuge to be like Hell's Deep. Because they get to Hell's Deep, and they lock the world out. It's carved from a rock face, and on this rock face, they begin to go back up towards where the sanctuary is, the place of security in the middle of the city is, and they create ring after ring after ring that enemies would have to pass by for them to even get near the center where the refuge is at. They have places on the walls where archers can shoot arrows down. There's a gap between the wall and the coming place, and they can tear their bridge apart if they need to. Hell's Deep is a refuge. It's a true fortress. And it is a place where Rohan stayed safe from the outside world for hundreds and hundreds of years. I want a Hell's Deep. I need a place where I can go and the world can't get in. I need a place where I can give up being stationarily busy. I need a place where I can go and Jesus is the only thing I think about. I need a place where I can be his all the time for that time. Do you have that place? The only place I have like that is Jesus Christ. In him I have sanctuary. In him I have peace. In him he is a fortress. He is a rock. He is a shelter. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I need to spend more time with that rock. Resting. I need to spend more time in that shelter speaking to the one who loves me. I need to spend more time casting off the things that are always in my face in the world and getting back with the Jesus Christ that loves me so much that he demands my attention all the time, 100%. You see, if we begin to see him as our refuge, if we begin to see him as our place of safety that we run to, then we may find him to be a fortress of rest that is more comparable to the walls of Hell's Deep than we thought. When we afford him the focus of our hearts and minds and offer ourselves wholly to him, we will find a rest that will hopefully rejuvenate, refocus, and replenish us. But the trick is we have to rest. Now, I'm not coming at you with this out of some lofty place, trust me. You can ask the guys. As a matter of fact, one of them's kind of mad at me. I haven't taken a vacation yet. I don't rest well. Even when I'm gone, do you know what I do? I play church in my head. If I'm gone on a Sunday morning, don't worry, I'm still here with you. I'm at 8 o'clock going, got to get there, got to open the doors. I hope somebody opened the door. Please let somebody open the door. Please let somebody know how to turn the lights on when they get in here, and I know people know how to do that. But I'm just saying, in my head, please let them turn the lights on. And then I think, oh, if all the musicians show up today, yeah, hallelujah. And I'm like, yay, church is working that day. Everybody showed up. And at about 9 o'clock, I'm going to start going, oh, please let whoever's teaching my class today, let them do a really good job. Please let them do a really good job. And then by 9:30, I'm like, please, no fights, no nothing exciting. Oh, hopefully somebody knows how to start the live stream. We got to make sure the live stream gets started. And then I come downstairs, and in my head, I'm thinking, maybe all that's gotten taken care of. And then in my head, I start thinking, please let the internet work on the computer out there so whoever's doing security can do security. And then in my head, I keep going. And at 10, I'm like, oh, please let the donuts show up. I know Cindy will get them, but make the donuts show up, please. I know Lee will get her there. And then at 10:15, I'm like, oh, hopefully they started the announcements. At 10:25, I'm like, please let them have started the timer. At 10:30, I'm like, please let church start on time for once. Please. That's my morning on a Sunday morning at vacation. And all the days before that build up to it. Did I do this? Did I not do that? Did somebody cover this? Did I talk to somebody about that? I called the elders 15 times going, do you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember this? All the way through vacation, my wife wants to chuck my phone out the door at 75 miles an hour. Because all I do the whole time is I think about something else. I don't rest. Now, I'm using a physical, worldly vacation to talk about this, but I need you to understand anything. When you begin to pray to God, do you ever think, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this? Lord, I know I'm supposed to be praying to you, but I got this thing over here that's coming due that's got to be done. Lord, I'm thinking of this, but Lord, I really think maybe this needs to be done. Lord, did I pay that bill, Lord? Lord, did I do this? And by the time I'm done, I'm like 100 miles away from where I was supposed to be talking to God. Because even when I'm just trying to talk to him, I have a hard time resting. Because in our world, I've been trained to be busy in the stationary. Today, our invitation is going to be pretty simple. I want you guys to take one thing to God. One thing only, okay? You pick it. Today, what I'd really like for you guys to do is I would like for you guys today, pick whatever it is that keeps you the busiest. Pick whatever it is that causes you to lose time with God. Pick whatever it is that keeps you from rest. And today, during invitation time, pray that God would take that away from you for a week. For some of you, that may be like, no. But for some of you who haven't heard this, you may go, that's exactly what I need. During invitation today, that's your challenge. Pray that God would put you closer to Jesus by giving you rest and take away the one thing that blocks it.